Thousands of Australians remain trapped in the conflict between Israel and Iran. Defence personnel and aircraft will be deployed to the Middle East as a contingency for when the airspace reopens. Let's go live to political correspondent Cameron Redden in Canberra. Hi there, Cam. What role will those personnel play in this conflict or crisis?
Well, the government is very keen to stress that they are not there for any combat role, that there's not been any request from the United States or any others to become involved in a military sense in this conflict. But the Foreign Minister this morning confirming that some personnel and 2 aircraft will be going to the Middle East as a contingency plan if there is a role for them to play in helping the thousands of Australians that remain stuck in the middle of this conflict to get them to safety. We know the airspace is currently shut, so there's not a lot they can do at the moment. On the latest numbers, now 2,000 Australians in Iran have been registered with DFAT asking for assistance to leave. It's roughly 1,200 in Israel that have requested the same, noting that there may be many more that are choosing to at least stay put. The message from the government is to shelter in place if it is not safe to leave. There's been some progress in getting more Australians out of Israel overnight. The Foreign Minister saying another busload of around 38 Australians managed to get out. But this follows a decision this morning to close the embassy in Iran and get all of those diplomats out across the border into Azerbaijan. Penny Wong noting that this will make it notably harder for Australians that remain stuck in Iran to get diplomatic assistance, and it also makes it harder for any communication between Australia and Iran to take place. Remember, while we are not a considerable player in this conflict, to use the words of the Foreign Minister, Australia does remain diplomatic ties with Iran in order to have dialogue and to deal with issues like getting Australians to safety. Penny Wong announcing this ADF involvement this morning, although the government at pains to stress there is no intent for Australia to get involved militarily in this conflict. They are there simply to assist Australians, if it is possible, to get that airspace open again.
Unfortunately, at this stage, our ability to provide consular services is extremely limited due to the situation on the ground. To assist the government's efforts and support Australians seeking to leave the region, ADF personnel and aircraft are being deployed to the Middle East as part of Operation Beach 2025. I also emphasise that we are sending defence assets to help Australians. They are not there for combat.
The Foreign Minister also had a phone call with her American counterpart, the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in the early hours of this morning. They both agree that there is work to do on a pathway to peace in the Middle East, but not elaborating much beyond that. The Foreign Minister did note, though, that she raised Orcus as a part of those discussions. We know the Prime Minister came within a hair's breadth of meeting with Donald Trump at the G7 before conflict broke out again, and that had to be cancelled due to the situation in the Middle East. But Penny Wong says today she made that case for the US to stick with Orcus during that phone call this morning as the Trump administration embarks on a snap review of that pact.
Yes, obviously that is one of the issues we talked about. We talked about the Indo-Pacific and the importance of our partnership to stability, peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. I've outlined, as you would expect, the benefits to all countries, all 3 countries of the Orcus agreement.
On that subject of a potential meeting between Anthony Albanese and Donald Trump, they came close at the G7. The Prime Minister had been considering a trip to NATO's summit next week in The Hague in the Netherlands. Donald Trump is intending to attend that meeting. But today, Sky News understands that the Prime Minister will not be going to that meeting. Instead, Richard Marles, the Deputy Prime Minister, will attend in his place. That means that work will need to continue for a meeting between the 2 leaders at some other point in time. It's not yet known when the next opportunity could be for that meeting to take place.
Thanks so much, Cam, for that update.